Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Think on These Things podcast, season 2,
Yes,
episode
finally.
2.
Yes.
So we're one episode in. Thank you for joining us last time. We had a good time, and we're going to have another good time today.
Yes.
So last week we talked about being in a rut, mentally,
Yes.
emotionally, personally, family,
Did you say spiritually?
spiritually.
Yes.
I didn't, but thank you. So today we're going to attack ministry because that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to
Yeah.
attack mental health in all aspects of life, including ministry.
Yeah.
So maybe, honey, kick us off. What's a rut? What does it look like? What does it feel like?
Yeah. So
Let's talk about our feelings.
yeah, sometimes specifically about ministry, I think people get stuck in doing the same things over and over again and maybe feeling frustrated with the results.
Yeah.
But what happens is, well, maybe two things. People don't know how to change.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're like, I don't know what to
What
do
do I do here?
to make this different. I
Mhm.
don't know how to do it any differently than what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
Or kind of spinning off what we talked about last time is if they do try a change, it's so uncomfortable that people kind of lose the wherewithal
Yeah.
to work through the uncomfortableness.
Yeah, and I think too another thing is like recognizing that you're in a rut. Sometimes it's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, if you get in and you're like you can't see the forest because of the trees kind of deal, you know. I think that's a big thing too is how do we recognize we're there? Because like you said, one thing is getting out of it, right?
Sure.
And another thing is recognizing that you're in it. We talked a little bit about that.
Sure.
Go
Now,
ahead.
I will say this before you say your point. Like, when we say rut, like, we're not meaning like all your routines and, all the systems you set up that, work great. We're not saying, oh, that's a rut. You need to throw
Yes.
that out.
No.
Like, we're talking about patterns of thinking, patterns of behavior that are unproductive,
Yeah.
that are unhealthy,
Yeah.
that have gotten you some not so good results,
Yeah.
but it just seems like you can't
Yeah.
break those behaviors.
And one of the things that I looked at too, I put down in our notes is recognition is you're busy but not productive.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's one thing that as ministry we want one of the things that I'm learning is when I ask someone how they're doing or how's it going, when they say busy, that's a turnoff for me.
Yeah.
Because if you're busy but productive, it's one thing. But by and large, most of the time people are busy, but there's very little productivity to show for it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I'm at the stage in my ministry and in my life where I'm really, and you can ask my wife, I'm really hyper focused on productivity. How can I get the most out of my day, out of my week, out of my year, out of the things that I'm doing?
Yeah, you're doing great.
And thanks. And busy but not productive is a big key, right? Because that's where a lot of frustration from a rut comes in, I think, ministerially, is that we can be super, super busy. We can be doing a lot of things. And then we just look around and we're like, dude, I did all this stuff and nothing's better.
Yeah.
And what kind of toll does that play mentally
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
emotionally on the person to be so busy and putting out all this energy and all of a sudden, well, I didn't get anything accomplished.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you really made a great point because I think that that's something we're just hearing in our society today as we're so busy. I'm
Gosh
so
darn it.
busy. I'm so
So
busy.
busy.
And the reality of it all is that we're all busy. There's a lot of things that are demanding our time. But I think what you're talking about, and maybe you can expand on this more, is about prioritizing the things that are important and prioritizing the things that are going to have long-term benefits.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that can, and this I'm going to give credit to my wife on this because this is something that she helped me with, is sometimes we can think non-immediate things are immediate.
Yeah.
Right? Like the text to someone, like the
Yes.
reply to an email. And what we're doing is we're spending a ton of time working on things that show little result.
Yeah.
Right? because immediate to one person is not immediate to another person,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And this is true in the fact of, so boundary setting, we've talked a lot about boundary setting in the past.
Yeah.
That if we don't set healthy boundaries, what you do with your time, other people will do with your time.
That's right.
So if you set up boundaries to say, okay, I got this text, I'll tell you what I do. This is what I do to alleviate the anxiety in my mind, because I'm so task oriented and I love checking boxes. I will text that person and say, hey, I'll get back with you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I'll get back with you at X time.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it takes the immediacy away.
Yeah.
It puts it in a box that allows me to take care of it in a good time, but it also doesn't interrupt my productive time, right?
Right.
We can do a podcast on productivity because I'm so interested in it right now.
Yeah. That I think everybody else would be interested.
Because there's a
in
whole
that
thing
too.
on like red
Sure.
zone, green zone,
Oh, yeah.
yellow zone, like
Yeah,
what's your
that's
best
gonna
time
be
to
great.
work and
Yeah.
all this stuff. But I think that the big point is that you really you have to recognize you're in a rut to get out of a rut. But to get out of a rut, you have to, like my wife said, focus on things that are important.
Yeah.
So it should be this, and this is going to be like a little delve into productivity. What is time sensitive and important, and what is important but not time sensitive?
That's right.
What can I chip away at over time, but what needs to be done right now?
Yes.
And then you take those things and you layer them in a hierarchy of importance of what you need to work on, and you make blots to work on those
good.
things.
Yeah.
If you're a pastor, you're in a ministry, and I really, one of the things me and my wife are very sensitive to is people that are bivocational.
Yes.
We're very sensitive.
Because we're bivocational.
Yes,
Yes.
still.
So we,
and
yes.
we have way more time to spend on church things now than we have in the past.
Yes.
But it's been a progression, right? I
Yes.
worked a full-time job in the hospital and did ministry. My wife's been going to school full-time, raising 2 kids, doing ministry, and then, pursuing a doctorate and doing a podcast and doing
Yes.
counseling
Yes.
and raising kids and being a pastor's wife and being an administrator in our church. Can I name a few more things? You want me
No,
to stop
I'm
there?
getting tired.
Okay.
I feel so busy.
But are you productive?
I hope so.
But we really sympathize with you. So what
Yes.
happens is when you go to work, you don't have time to think about ministry
Sure.
because you're so busy with all these other things. So
Yes.
then you really need your productive time to be productive.
That's right.
So if you're in a rut in your ministry, start looking at things you can do to improve. Like, if maybe it's a young adult ministry, I can look at how can I, maybe we create a pathway to more engagement.
Yeah.
Whatever that case is. But go ahead,
Well, here's just the thing I want to say.
because I've been talking a lot.
Well, before you continue on, because I think this is great. Like, we need to do the series that you're suggesting, because I think everyone would be interested in that. But here's the thing: as you're making changes, as you're prioritizing, I see this a lot, even just in talking with clients, is that people get extremely frustrated when there's not results
Yeah.
immediately.
Oh, that's good.
Everything is not going to change overnight.
Yes.
As humans, we have a very hard time thinking in long-term terms.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even like that in a spiritual element. Sometimes we get so bogged down by things on this earth that we
Yes.
forget that we're not even living for this. I think there's a song that's like living for the other side, but truly
Yeah.
we're living for heaven. We're living to make heaven our home one day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the ultimate goal. But sometimes in all of our goals, we forget all of that. And it's the same with changes and getting out of a rut and getting out of a cycle. I talk with couples who, their marriage is struggling, and they start making changes, and then they'll be like, oh, it's not working. It's not working.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you've only started working on this, 2 weeks ago. It's not going to be, it's not going to be overnight change.
Yeah.
And so I think we just have to get comfortable with realizing that it's not going to change overnight. Does that make sense?
Yes. Can I share something kind of carnal but not super carnal?
Sure.
When I was in high school, there was a country song that was out that said it was hard to see past Friday night
Yeah.
for high school kids.
Oh my gosh.
But it's so true,
Sure.
right? Because
Yeah.
we get so hyper focused on life that And y'all forgive me. That was before I was saved. But there's some things we want to forget, but we can't. And so sometimes we can't see past immediacy of things. We can't see
Yes.
past the next event. We can't see past the next week.
Yes.
You know, or we can't see past vacation that's coming
Right.
up in 2 weeks. And those are human tendencies. And what we have to do is we have to be able to analyze, well, where am I living?
Yes.
Right? Am I living with, like you said, the ultimate goals in mind? Because what you'll find is that we talked about busy but not productive. I think that is a telltale sign that you're in a rut. Is when you're
Yes.
busy and you're not productive.
That's
and I
right.
will tell you, ruts lead to burnout.
Yes.
And this is what I'm finding. So I am going at the same pace now that I would go at 2 years ago,
Yeah.
but by now I would already be burnt out.
Yeah.
Here's the difference.
This is good.
Is I'm accomplishing things.
Yeah. That's
I'm
right.
meeting goals.
Yep.
I'm setting goals and I'm meeting them. I'm actually working and getting things done. I'm busy, but I am productive.
Yep.
Busy and unproductive leads to a rut and leads to burnout.
Yes.
Busy and productive leads to a place where you're just keeping everything going and all those goals compound upon one another, and then all of a sudden you're in a good place mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah. That's good.
And I think that's the thing that we don't like to talk about, is that, you know, when I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. People are busy just for the sake of being busy.
That's right.
Football, basketball, whatever, you know, you can name all these things, taking the kids out, doing this, doing that. And then the next thing you know, you're just burnt out and you're tired.
Yeah.
Because like me, completing tasks fills my tank.
Yeah.
And so
That's true.
when I'm productive, then I don't get to that place of burnout,
Yeah.
because I'm going at a good pace, but I'm also making good strides.
I just want to make a note here about ministry, and I hope that those that are watching will receive this in the spirit that it is given. But sometimes I know as pastor's wife that we can struggle with spinning our wheels
Yeah.
in here's the thing, trying to solve problems for people that don't want their problems solved.
That's a good point.
And so sometimes we kind of take that on and we're like, I've got to figure their life out for them.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that we're being true to what God is calling us to do when we kind of take on someone else's life. And people, and I know this as a counselor, people will sit back all day long and let you work out all their problems for them. But here's what's going to happen is they're going to end up back in the same spot they were in before.
Yep.
Until they're actually ready to do the work themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Then they can get out of
Yeah.
the issue. But until they're ready, and I see so many pastors' wives, so many ministers that are trying to solve people's problems for them.
V stopped working. There we go.
Oh my.
Praise God. Keep going.
And so that's awesome.
That is awesome.
And so, you know, I think that's part of the thing with, like you were saying, choosing your productive time is sometimes we have to prioritize, okay, am I modeling to this person? You know, have I helped them, or am I trying to live their life for them? Am I trying to fix their problems for them? Because sometimes that can hinder our productivity in our own life, trying to fix other people's lives. And that's not our job. That's Jesus's job.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, too, I think you can idealize, like you talked about seeing what other pastors' wives do, what other pastors do.
Sure.
And when we idealize what they do,
Yeah.
we have a very skewed view of how to apply it to our lives. Hey guys, so you noticed probably some funky wonky things happening, and it was
Yes.
a big jump cut. Well, we were in the middle of a good conversation, and all of a sudden the Wi-Fi goes out, which
Yes.
is
It's
amazing.
been storming really bad here. So
Yeah.
I think that might be part of it.
I hope it is, because I don't want to have to, change out this Wi-Fi. It's bad when you spend money on something and it doesn't work.
Yes, but we're back.
But we're back. So I think we were kind of in the middle of talking about looking at what other pastors are doing.
Sure.
You can't take what other pastors do and apply it to
Yes.
your context,
Yes.
right?
Because you have to find what works for you.
Exactly. And there's this saying that I've been throwing around, and I think I made it up. And if I didn't, whoever said it, great. You did a great job. Don't work for your schedule. Make your schedule work for you.
Yeah.
And what you'll find is that these ruts, they'll lead to a place of a negative downturn in your spirit, a negative downturn in your relationships, a negative downturn in your ministry. And the only way to get out of those things is to really tap into the spiritual, pray, fast, read your word, really continue spiritual disciplines, but then find a way, like I said, to be productive. Mm-hmm. And what you'll find is if the Spirit is always there, keeping you, guiding you, and then you start working on the natural to bring that productivity up, then you're going to see some really good things take place there. And you'll see yourself just kind of pop up out of that rut and become really productive.
Yeah. And I think as kind of a takeaway action step here is don't be afraid of doing hard things that make you uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because as little steps at a time, they're going to get you where you want to go. They're going to get you to your long-term goal. I'll say this really quick, and I know we've got to sign off, but I was talking to one of the students at our school the other day, and he was doing science, and he was like, I was like, how's it going? And he was like, it's so hard, and science is so hard. And I was like, yeah, it is hard. I was like, but you know what? You can do it. You're capable of doing it. You're smart enough to do it. You've got this.
Yeah.
And I said, then you'll go to college. I said, in overcoming the hardness of doing this physical science, I said, then when you get to college, you'll be ready. You'll be prepared. You'll be able to take on that level of hardness. I said, and then when you get your bachelor's degree, then you'll be ready to take on the hardness of a master's degree. I said, and then when you get your master's degree, I was like, you'll be ready to take on the hardness of your doctorate degree. And he was like, whoa, I see what you did there. But it's true.
Yeah.
That level of hard gets you ready for the next level of hard. And you have to remind yourself of that. Yeah. It's in stages. Like, if I can do this hard thing that feels so hard today, I'll be ready for the next hard thing that comes my way. And I'm building up my resilience. I'm building up my ability to do hard things. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But saying, okay, I can do this hard thing. It's hard. It doesn't feel good. I've got this. And then I'm ready for the next step.
And here's the thing we said last time, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
because we want to be comfortable beings. Like human beings, we want to be comfortable. We strive for that. Comfort food. It's aptly named because we like to be comfortable. The catch with that is when you avoid the difficult and you seek comfort, you'll always find yourself avoiding the difficult and seeking comfort. And the pain of going through something will never compare to the pain of never achieving something.
Yeah. Well, and I tell my husband all the time, he's heard me say this, because this is the kind of mindset that I'm trying to cultivate. Sometimes when I'm getting feedback or things are difficult, I'm like, oh, this is just great practice for me. And, my interpersonal skills are like I'm getting my doctorate degree. My professor ripped me a new one on something I wrote. And I was like, oh, this is great practice for me to be able to overcome this instead of just saying, oh, I quit. This is awful. It's too hard. But just realizing, okay, I can do this. This is practice. I can overcome this.
Yes. And that's the way to get out of the rut.
It is.
Is a lot of times ruts can be due to comfort.
Yeah.
And, I think the thing that we have to do is we have to be willing to approach the pain.
Do we have one more in this series? Will we be back next week on this one, or are we talking about something else?
We can do whatever you want to do. Huh? This is our podcast.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe come back on one more and have you talk a little bit about productivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be really good.
Talk about pain avoidance and how to process through, attacking tasks. Sure.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We want to hear your feedback.
Yes. As always, text the word THINK to 910-600-0498. Again, we're sorry that this weird wonky thing happened. You didn't miss any content because we stopped as soon as we knew it happened. So we pray it's a blessing to you.
Yes.
Questions, comments, concerns, text us. We would love to connect with you. And as always, you've been watching the Biblos Network.